My mom cancelled every wedding vendor just 1 week before. Flowers, catering, venue. She told my fiancé, "My daughter is damaged goods and you're making the biggest mistake of your life." On our wedding day, 200 guests arrived at an empty lot, but my maid of honor had secretly been planning something for 6 months. What happened next left my mom completely speechless. Have you ever felt like the person who was supposed to love you most was actually trying to destroy your life? Just 7 days before my wedding, I discovered my own mother hadn't just cancelled every single vendor, the flowers, the catering, the whole damn venue. She'd also told my fiancé I was damaged goods, a mistake he was making. I'm Vera, and that week my wedding became a battlefield. A beat of silence. Then the guitar returns softly beneath the narration. Started innocently enough 8 months ago. Tuesday evening. Nathan didn't do a fancy restaurant or a ring in dessert. He just stood in our tiny kitchen in Ridge Hill, Georgia, holding a ring he'd saved 7 months for. He said, "I don't have a speech. I just know I want every morning to start with you." I said yes before he could finish. We sat on the kitchen floor, my back against the cabinets, his arm around me. I kept turning my hand, watching the small diamond catch the light. For 11 minutes, the world was exactly right. Then my phone rang. I picked up, still smiling. "Mom," Nathan just. "Where are you having it?" No congratulations. No gasp of delight. Just, "The wedding. Where's the venue? I need to know now." I glanced at Nathan. He tilted his head, listening. "We haven't decided anything yet, Mom." He literally just, "Well, you need to start deciding. These things book out a year in advance. I'll handle the calls. I need to explain something. My whole life, every decision I'd ever made had passed through my mother first. Which college? Which major? Which apartment? When my father died, I was 19. She pulled me close at the funeral and whispered, "It's just us now. You're all I have." From that day on, saying no to her felt like abandoning a widow. So when I told her we wanted to plan it ourselves, she went quiet. 4 seconds. Counted them. "Fine," she said. "I understand. You don't need me anymore." My chest tightened. That old guilt, the one she'd installed like software when I was a child, it booted up instantly. "No, Mom, of course I need you. I want you to help." I heard her exhale, satisfied. Nathan watched me from across the kitchen. He didn't say anything, but his jaw shifted, just slightly, the way it does when he's holding something back. I didn't know it then, but that phone call was the first move in a game my mother had been waiting to play. 3 months after the engagement, my mother had taken over everything. It happened gradually, like water rising in a basement. By the time you notice, it's already at your ankles. First, she offered to make a few calls because I was busy teaching 3rd grade. Then, she started showing up to tastings without telling me. Then, she changed my contact info on the florist's account to her own number. I wanted wild flowers. Sunflowers, lavender, baby's breath. Loose and messy, alive. My mother ordered white roses. "For elegance," she'd say. "You'll thank me." I wanted barbecue. Pulled pork, cornbread. "Can't serve barbecue at a wedding, Vera. People will talk." I wanted Nathan's family up front in the seating chart. She rearranged it so her friends filled the first 4 rows. When I pushed back gently, the only way I knew how, she'd cry right there in our living room, dabbing her eyes with a tissue she already had in her hand. "I'm just trying to make this beautiful for you. Your father would have wanted it this way." And I folded. Every time. Nathan started spending longer hours in his workshop. He didn't complain, but I'd catch him sometimes, standing at his workbench, not building anything, just staring at the wall. One evening, Rachel, my maid of honor, my best friend since 8th grade, came over. She watched my mother rearrange the centerpiece samples I'd chosen, replacing everyone. Rachel didn't say anything to Diane, but later at the door, she grabbed my arm. "I need you to trust me on something. Don't ask questions yet." I laughed nervously. "What do you mean?" She just squeezed my hand and left. I didn't understand. Not then. 2 months before the wedding, my mother invited Nathan to lunch. Just the two of them. She said it was to talk family things. I thought it was a good sign. But Nathan came home that afternoon and sat across from me at the kitchen table. He folded his hands. He's always careful with his words, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. Your mother told me you had a breakdown in college. My stomach dropped. She used the phrase, damaged goods. I stared at him. The room tilted. She said my daughter needs someone who can handle her. Can you really? I opened my mouth but nothing came out. Because yes, after my father died, I went through a dark stretch my sophomore year. I saw a counselor. I worked through it. It wasn't a secret, but it wasn't ammunition either. My mother turned it into ammunition. What did you say? I whispered. Nathan looked at me steadily. I said, I don't see damage. I see someone who survived you. Something cracked open in my chest. Not pain. Something warmer. She left after that, he said. Didn't finish her iced tea. 20 minutes later my phone rang. Nathan disrespected me at lunch. He's isolating you from your family, Vera. That's what men like him do. Carpenters. Blue collar. No ambition. Mom, he builds furniture with his hands. Your father was an accountant. Silence. Then very quietly. Don't you dare throw that at me. She hung up. I sat in the kitchen, holding my phone, caught between two versions of the truth. My mother's, where she was protecting me, and the real one where she was trying to make sure I never left. I didn't know it yet, but this was only the first step in her plan. The rumors started small. 6 weeks before the wedding, I walked into Patty's hair salon for my regular trim. Patty, who'd done my hair since I was 14, sat me down and leaned close to the mirror. Honey, are you okay? Your mama stopped by yesterday, said things aren't going well at home. And blinked. What did she say exactly? Patty hesitated. Just that you've been struggling. That Nathan might not be the right fit. Smiled. The kind you paste on when your insides are liquefying. Everything's fine, Patty. Really? But it wasn't fine. Because the next day, I walked into Dale's Market and Mrs. Brewer at the register gave me a look I'd never gotten before. Pity. Pure unfiltered pity. Vera, sweetheart. If you ever need to talk. Didn't ask what she'd heard. Already knew. Ridge Hill has a population of 4,000. In a town this size, a rumor doesn't travel. Teleports. Within 48 hours, my mother had seeded every coffee counter and church parking lot with the same story. Vera is fragile. Nathan is a mistake. The wedding shouldn't happen. I started feeling it everywhere. The sideways glances at the post office. The overly gentle tone from parents at school pickup. People treating me like I was made of wet paper. That Thursday evening my phone buzzed. Text from Rachel. Don't react to anything your mom does this week. Mean it. Trust me. I stared at the screen. What did Rachel know that I didn't? I typed back. You're scaring me. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Good. Scared means you're paying attention. She didn't explain further. And for reasons I can't articulate, I didn't push. Something was moving under the surface. I just couldn't see it yet. 5 weeks out. My mother called Gloria Cole. But I didn't find out from Gloria. I found out from Nathan, who found out from his mother, who called him at 9 on a Saturday morning, her voice tight and careful. Nathan, is there something about Vera I should know? Nathan put the phone on speaker so I could hear. Gloria continued. Diane called me last night. She said Vera has a history of. She used the word episodes. She said Vera needed psychiatric treatment in college, and that she worries about her stability. She told me you should know what you're getting into, and that. Nathan, I'm just repeating what she said. She called Vera emotionally volatile. My hands went cold. I watched Nathan's face. His expression didn't change, but a muscle near his temple tightened. Mom, he said. Vera saw a counselor after her dad died. That's it. Diane is twisting it. Gloria paused. I believe you, honey. But she was very convincing. She cried. Course she cried. After Nathan hung up, he turned to me. For the first time, I saw something in his eyes that wasn't patience. It was clarity. Your mother is not trying to protect you, Vera. She's trying to own you. I knew he was right. I'd known for years, maybe. But hearing it out loud in our kitchen on a Saturday morning with sunlight on the floor, it sounded different. And it sounded true. Don't fight with your mom over this, I told him. That's exactly what she wants. He nodded, but his jaw was set. That night, lying in bed, I realized something. My mother wasn't just trying to stop a wedding. She was trying to dismantle every relationship I had, one phone call at a time. And she was running out of people to call. Here's what nobody tells you about weddings. The money disappears before the first dance starts. Nathan and I had saved for 3 years. $18,000 pulled from teacher paychecks and early carpentry commissions. Skipped vacations, a used car instead of a new one. Every dollar earmarked. Florist. $2,200. Caterer. $4,800. Venue deposit. $3,500. DJ, photographer, rentals, cake. The rest filled in fast. Most of those vendors had a 30-day cancellation policy. We were now inside that window. If the wedding didn't happen, we'd lose almost everything. I sat at the kitchen table one evening, our budget spreadsheet open on my laptop. Nathan was across from me, sanding a chair leg by hand, because the noise of the power sander bothered our neighbor's dog. If we had to walk away right now, I said, how much do we lose? He didn't look up. Most of it. We can't afford to lose most of it. I know. $18,000. 3 years of packing lunch instead of buying it. 3 years of Nathan working weekends. That money was supposed to be our start. A down payment fund, a safety net, a future. And right now it was sitting in contracts controlled by a woman who thought my happiness was a threat to hers. Closed the laptop. I pressed my palms against my eyes. If I don't do something, I said more to myself than to Nathan, I lose the money. I lose face in front of 200 people. I lose your mother's trust. And, I lowered my hands. I lose myself. Nathan put down the sandpaper. Ah, you won't lose me. I know. Then, we figure it out. He nodded. But sitting there in the quiet of our kitchen, I thought, this is the bottom. This is as bad as it gets. I was wrong. 7 days before the wedding. Monday. I was grading papers at my desk during lunch when I decided to call the florist. Just a quick confirmation. Routine. The phone rang twice. Magnolia Florals. This is Dawn. Hi, Dawn. It's Vera Westbrook. Just checking in on our order for Saturday. Was. Too long. Ma'am, that order was cancelled 3 days ago. The pencil in my hand stopped moving. Excuse me. Your mother called. She said the wedding was off. Hung up. My fingers were shaking, but I dialed the caterer. Miss Westbrook. Yes, we received the cancellation Thursday. Your mother said. I hung up again. Called the venue. I'm sorry, Miss Westbrook. Mrs. Diane Westbrook called and cancelled the reservation. She said the family had decided. I didn't let her finish. I sat at my desk, staring at my phone, and felt the ground beneath me dissolve. Not crack. Dissolve like sand under a wave. Called my mother. She picked up on the first ring, as if she'd been waiting. Mom, you cancelled my wedding. I cancelled a mistake. That was not your decision. Everything about you is my decision, Vera. I gripped the edge of my desk. I raised you, she said, her voice flat and even. I fed you. I buried your father alone. This wedding. It's mine to give or take. Something shifted inside me. Not anger. Not yet. Something colder. Something that had been sleeping for 28 years and just opened its eyes. No, I said. It isn't. Hung up. My hands were still shaking, but my voice was steady. And that surprised me more than anything my mother had just said. The room was very quiet. 22 third graders were at recess, and I was sitting alone with the wreckage. I don't remember driving home. I just remember the kitchen floor, the cold of the tile through my dress, the way the afternoon light made a rectangle on the wall that moved so slowly. It felt like time had thickened. I wasn't crying. That's the strange part. I was just sitting there, my back against the dishwasher, my bag still on my shoulder, staring at nothing. Nathan found me like that when he came in from the workshop, sawdust on his forearms. He looked at me and didn't ask what happened. He just sat down next to me on the floor, close enough that our shoulders touched. 10 minutes passed, maybe 15. The refrigerator hummed. She cancelled everything, I said finally. Every vendor. All of them. He didn't flinch. When? 3 days ago. Behind my back. His hand found mine. His palm was rough and warm. She told me this morning it was hers to give or take. The wedding. Our wedding. She said it belongs to her. Nathan was quiet for a moment. Then, we'll figure this out. 7 days, Nathan. No florist, no caterer, no venue, no money for replacements. I know. My mother wants to own me. Like a living thing. The first time I'd ever said it out loud. Nathan pulled out his phone. I'm calling Rachel. He dialed. Rachel picked up. Nathan gave her the short version. Vendors cancelled. Diane responsible. 7 days. Rachel listened. I could hear the silence on her end. Not the silence of shock. The silence of intense focus. Don't call any vendor, Rachel said. Don't call your mother. I need 48 hours. That same night, after I'd fallen into something that wasn't quite sleep on the couch, Nathan's phone rang. He was in the kitchen. I heard him answer, heard his voice drop low. I didn't move. Later, much later, he told me what happened. My mother called him at 10:47 p.m. She had a breakdown in college. Did she tell you the full story? Nathan said nothing. She couldn't get out of bed for 3 weeks. She missed finals. I had to fly up and bring her home. Still nothing. She can't handle stress, Nathan. She'll fall apart. You'll be the one picking up the pieces. He let her talk. Walk away now, she said. Save yourself. You seem like a decent man, but don't let her ruin your life. Nathan reached across the counter and tapped a button on his phone. Record. Georgia is a one-party consent state. He knew this because his buddy Marcus told him once after a contractor tried to cheat him on a job. Is that everything, Diane? He said calmly. I'm trying to help you. Noted. He hung up. He saved the file. He didn't tell me that night. He could see I was barely holding together, and one more blow might crack the foundation. The next morning, he drove to Rachel's apartment before work. He handed her his phone, the recording queued up. Rachel listened. Her face didn't change. When it ended, she looked at Nathan and said, "This is exactly what I needed." Nathan asked, "What are you planning, Rachel?" She tapped the phone against her palm. "Insurance." He waited. "The kind your mother-in-law can't cancel." She didn't elaborate. And Nathan, because he's Nathan, trusted her the same way I did. Completely. Rachel had told me to wait 48 hours. Those were the longest 48 hours of my life. But I didn't know yet that she had been preparing for this moment for 6 months. 5 days before the wedding, Rachel showed up at our door carrying a manila folder thick enough to prop open a window. She sat at our kitchen table, the same table where Nathan proposed, where I'd learned about the cancellations, where every turning point of this year had happened, and opened the folder. I need to tell you something," she said. "And I need you to let me finish before you react." He nodded. "The day your mom volunteered to handle the wedding, 6 months ago, I started making backup plans." I stared at her. 6 months. "Do you remember your college graduation?" I did. My mother arrived 40 minutes late, started an argument with my roommate's parents over parking, and spent the reception telling everyone that my education degree was a waste and I should have gone into business. I cried in the bathroom. Rachel held my hair back. "I made a promise to myself that day," Rachel said. She would never ruin another milestone for you. She pulled out a printed contract. Elmwood Garden Estate, a private garden property 12 minutes from downtown Ridge Hill, owned by a woman named June Whitfield, a friend of Rachel's from event planning. The contract was signed, Rachel's name, dated 6 months ago. A $2,000 deposit. Rachel's own money. You spent your own money. My voice cracked. You'd do the same for me. I looked at the date on the contract. 6 months. She started this the same week my mother took over the vendor calls. Rachel saw it coming before I did, before anyone did. Nathan leaned against the counter, arms crossed. He was staring at Rachel like she'd just walked through a wall. I didn't do this because I hate your mother, Rachel said. I did this because I love you. I didn't have words. I just had tears. And for the first time in months, they weren't the sad kind. Rachel flipped through the folder like a general briefing, a war room. Florist. Sandy's blooms out of Carterville. Wild flowers, sunflowers, lavender. She looked at me. Exactly what you originally wanted. I pressed my hand over my mouth. Caterer, Big Jim's Smokehouse. Pulled pork, cornbread, brisket, sweet tea in mason jars. Nathan let out a short laugh. The first one I'd heard from him in weeks. DJ is my friend Marcus. Photographer. My coworker Lena, she shoots weddings on the side. Total backup cost. $6,500. I've covered it. You pay me back whenever. I shook my head. Rachel, that's not negotiable. She moved on. Guest list. I pulled the original list you shared with me when you first got engaged, before your mother took over communications. 200 names, phone numbers, emails. I have a separate contact database for every single one. She explained the plan. The morning of the wedding, she'd send a mass text and make personal calls to the 15 most important guests. Nathan's family, my Uncle Tom, closest friends. The message. Venue has been upgraded. Surprise. New address. Arrive by 3 p.m. She'd frame it as a surprise. And my mother? Yes. Rachel met my eyes. She gets the original address. Only the original address. The room went quiet. I also called someone else, Rachel said, her voice careful now. Maggie Coulter, WRDG-TV. Local interest piece. Best friend saves wedding. A community love story. Maggie didn't know the details about my mom. She just knew it was a feel-good segment. I hesitated. A camera crew felt like a step I couldn't take back. Rachel read my face. You don't have to decide now. But Vera, your mother put this on Facebook. She made it public first. This is just the truth catching up. Part of me felt guilty. The other part, the part my mother had been silencing for 28 years, felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, Nathan breathing slow and steady beside me, and I ran the film of my life backward. Every birthday my mother made about herself. The year she announced her hip surgery at my sweet 16. Every achievement she diminished. Teaching is nice, but it's not a career. Every boyfriend she drove away before Nathan, calling each one not good enough until I believed I was the problem. And my father. The last thing he ever said to me, 3 days before the heart attack, standing at the kitchen sink in the house I grew up in. Don't let anyone shrink you, Vera. Not even me. I didn't understand then. Think I do now. At 6 a.m. I called Rachel. Let's do it. You're sure? I'm sure. Good. I'll activate everything today. I hung up and made one more call. Uncle Tom, my father's younger brother. Retired Army. Manages a warehouse in the next town over. He'd been in my life since birth, but kept his distance from my mother's orbit. Smart man. Uncle Tom, I need to ask you something. Shoot. Will you walk me down the aisle? The line went quiet. I heard him clear his throat. When he spoke, his voice was rough. Your daddy would be so proud, Vera. I pressed the phone to my chest after we hung up. I sat on the edge of the bed and breathed. Here's what I did not do. I did not call my mother. I did not explain. I did not beg. I did not negotiate. For the first time in 28 years I chose silence. Not the silence of submission. The silence of someone who has finally decided. 4 days until the wedding, and my mother still thought she'd won. I've thought about it a lot since then. Why my mother did what she did. Was it hate? Was it fear? Was it something broken inside her that couldn't stand to see me whole? I still don't have a perfect answer, but I'm curious. If you found out your own mother had cancelled your entire wedding, what would you do? Would you confront her? Would you go silent like I did? Would you do something else entirely? Tell me in the comments. I'd really like to know. Now back to 4 days before the wedding. Thursday. I was standing in the hallway outside my classroom at Ridge Hill Elementary, refilling my water bottle at the fountain, when I heard her voice. Not on the phone this time. In person. In my building. I'm here to check on my daughter. She's been unstable. I'm worried she'll have another episode. She was speaking to the front desk volunteer, loud enough for every open classroom door to hear. Mrs. Patterson, the 5th grade teacher, stepped into her doorway. Mr. Gaines, the custodian, froze mid-sweep. 2 parents waiting for a pickup conference turned to stare. My face went white. I could feel it drain. Blood leaving like someone pulled a plug. I walked toward her. Steady steps. My sneakers squeaked on the linoleum. Mom, this is my workplace. Please leave. She pivoted to face me, and her expression shifted. Hurt, wounded, trembling chin. Ma'am, the volunteer said gently but firmly, I'll need to ask you to step outside. My mother looked around the hallway at the staring faces, the half-open doors, and squared her shoulders. You'll see, she said, walking toward the exit. Everyone will see. The door closed behind her. The hallway slowly unstiffened. Mr. Gaines resumed sweeping. Mrs. Patterson gave me a small, helpless shrug. Then a hand touched my elbow. Mrs. Daniels, 62, taught at this school for 30 years, reading glasses on a beaded chain. She leaned close. Honey, my mother was the same. Don't let her win. 5 words from a near stranger. And they held me up for the rest of the day. 2 days before the wedding was the rehearsal dinner at Gloria Cole's house, a cozy ranch-style home with a wraparound porch and string lights Nathan hung last summer. About 30 people. Nathan's family, a few close friends, Rachel, Uncle Tom. Fried chicken, potato salad, Gloria's famous sweet potato pie. The mood was warm, nervous, hopeful. My mother was not invited. She came anyway. I heard her car door at 7:15 p.m. She walked up the porch steps carrying a bottle of wine and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Gloria opened the door, startled. Diane, we weren't expecting. I'm the mother of the bride. She stepped inside. The living room went quiet. Nathan's cousin Danny set down his fork. Uncle Tom straightened in his chair by the window. My mother poured herself a glass of wine, her own bottle, and raised it. I'd like to make a toast. Nobody stopped her. That's how she operates. She counts on politeness. I just hope Nathan knows what he's signing up for. This marriage lasts longer than her attention span. The room was a held breath. Gloria stood. Her voice was iron-wrapped in velvet. Diane, that's enough. My mother took a sip, set the glass down, looked around the room at 30 faces staring back at her. I said what I said. She walked out. The screen door slapped shut behind her. Silence. Then Nathan's hand found mine under the table. He squeezed. I squeezed back. Gloria crossed the room and bent down next to my chair. Her eyes were wet. She whispered, I'm sorry I ever doubted you. And then quieter. You are welcome in this family, Vera. Always. One day before the wedding. Friday evening. I was folding napkins at Rachel's apartment. She insisted I stay the night so Diane couldn't reach me. My phone buzzed. A screenshot from my coworker Jenny. It was a Facebook post, my mother's account. Please pray for my daughter. She's rushing into a marriage against medical advice. I've done everything I can. A mother's heart is broken. Against medical advice. I read it 3 times. Each time the words rearranged themselves into something uglier. There was no medical advice. There was no doctor who said don't get married. My mother invented a medical crisis and posted it to 800 people in a town where everyone knows everyone's middle name. My hands were shaking. Rachel looked over, read the screenshot, and her expression didn't change. She was past shock. She was in operational mode. I saw it 20 minutes ago, she said. 800 people, Rachel. I know. She's telling the whole town I'm mentally ill. Rachel took the phone from my hand. Not roughly, like a nurse removing something that's hurting a patient. Don't respond. Tomorrow, the truth will speak for itself. Nathan called from our house. He saw it too. I'll drive over. Stay, I said. I'm okay. I'm with Rachel. You sure? I'm sure. He paused. No more screens tonight, Vera. Agreed. Rachel took my phone and put it in a kitchen drawer. She made chamomile tea. We sat on her couch, not talking much, just breathing in the same room. I lay in Rachel's guest bed that night, eyes open, staring at the ceiling fan, turning slow circles. Tomorrow would be different. I wasn't scared anymore. Something had shifted quietly, like a key turning in a lock. For the first time I could see clearly, more clearly than I'd ever seen in my life. Saturday morning. Wedding day. 6 a.m. I woke up in Rachel's guest room to the sound of her already on the phone. Yes, ma'am. Venue upgrade. Surprise for the bride and groom. New addresses. Elmwood Garden Estate, 412 Whitfield Lane. Arrive by 3 p.m. Don't go to the original address. She was pacing her living room in sweatpants and a headset. A printed spreadsheet in her hand with 200 names, each one highlighted in yellow, green, or red. Yellow mass text sent. Green confirmed. Red. Needs a personal call. By 8 a.m. she'd made 15 calls. Gloria Cole confirmed. Uncle Tom confirmed. Nathan's cousin Danny, his Aunt Margaret, the Hendersons from next door. My co-worker Jenny, Mrs. Daniels. Confirmed. 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 By 10 a.m., 197 out of 200 guests had confirmed the new location. 3 couldn't attend. 1 had a sick child. 2 were traveling. None were related to my mother's sabotage. 1 person was not on the contact list at all. Diane Westbrook received no text, no call, no new address. As far as she knew, the wedding was at the original venue, the one she'd cancelled. The empty lot. At noon, I put on my dress in Rachel's bedroom. It was simple ivory tea-length lace sleeves. I bought it at a consignment shop in Atlanta. $60. My mother called it second-hand embarrassment. Called it mine. Uncle Tom arrived at 1:30 p.m. He was wearing a gray suit, polished shoes, eyes already red. He saw me and stopped in the doorway. Lord Vera, you look like your daddy on his wedding day. Stubborn and beautiful. Rachel checked her watch, checked her list. She looked at me. Ready. I smoothed my dress. Took a breath. I've been ready for 28 years. For the first time my wedding felt like mine. Elmwood Garden Estate sat at the end of a gravel lane lined with pecan trees. There was a white wooden gate, open wide. Beyond it, a rolling lawn edged with wildflower beds. Sunflowers, lavender, baby's breath. The flowers I chose, the flowers my mother erased. Rachel brought them back. Fairy lights were strung between 2 ancient live oaks. They were swaying just enough to make the light shimmer. Wooden chairs lined a center aisle. Chairs Nathan built himself over the last year. 1 every weekend, stacked in his workshop where I thought he was just staying busy. He was building our wedding without me knowing. The barbecue pit was already going. Big Jim himself, in his denim apron, tended the smoker. Pulled pork, cornbread, sweet tea in mason jars, just like I dreamed. Guests started arriving at 2:30. They stepped through the gate and stopped. Almost every one of them stopped. Some pressed their hands to their chests. Some laughed in disbelief. Mrs. Henderson whispered to her husband, "This is better than the original." Gloria Cole walked in, saw the wildflowers, saw the hand-built chairs, saw the fairy lights catching the Georgia afternoon sun. She found me near the garden trellis and wrapped her arms around me. Real. This is what your wedding was always supposed to look like. Maggie Coulter from WRDG-TV arrived quietly with her cameraman. They set up off to the side. Unobtrusive. Professional. Rachel briefed them. A heartwarming story about friendship and community. That's all they needed to know for now. Old Mrs. Freeman, my neighbor since childhood, 81 years old, Sunday hat and all, found me and took both my hands. Your daddy is watching, sweetheart. I know it. I believed her. 200 chairs. 197 guests. And the only person missing was the one who tried to make sure none of this would exist. 3 o'clock, the afternoon light turned gold. Uncle Tom took my arm at the end of the aisle. His grip was firm, military firm, but his hand was trembling. Slow steps, he murmured. Make it count. The music started. Not a grand orchestral piece, just a guitar. Rachel's friend Caleb sitting on a stool under the live oak, playing a finger-picked version of the song Nathan and I danced to on our first date, in his workshop, sawdust still on the floor. I stepped forward. 200 faces turned. Some were smiling. Some were already crying. Gloria Cole held a tissue to her nose. Mrs. Daniels nodded at me from the third row. Small, steady, certain. Nathan stood at the end of the aisle. His hands were clasped in front of him. His eyes were red, and he wasn't hiding it. He'd never hidden anything from me. As Uncle Tom delivered me to Nathan, shook his hand and said, "Take care of her or answer to me." Nathan nodded. "Yes, sir." The officiant, Nathan's college friend, David, ordained online last month specifically for this, kept it simple. Short readings, no sermon. Then the vows. Nathan went first. His voice broke once on the word home. My turn. I didn't read from a card. I looked at him and said what I'd been holding for months. I choose you not because I need to be saved, but because I finally know I deserve to be loved without conditions. The garden went quiet, even the birds, it seemed. I don't need permission to be happy. Not from anyone. Not anymore. Nathan's hand found mine. The officiant pronounced us married. We kissed under the live oaks and the fairy lights swayed. And 197 people rose to their feet. The sound of their applause filled the garden like a wave. And somewhere, 12 minutes away, an empty lot waited in silence. 3:01 p.m. 12 minutes away. I learned the details later, pieced together from Uncle Tom, from the security guard, from Maggie Coulter's footage. My mother drove to the original venue at 2:45. She parked her silver sedan, the one she always kept spotless because appearances matter, and stepped out in a navy blue dress and pearl earrings. She wasn't dressed for grief. She was dressed for victory. She walked toward the lot. It was empty. No tent. No chairs. No flowers. No caterer. Her cancelled vendors. Empty venue. Her daughter's dream erased. In her mind, the story ends here, with Vera humiliated, crawling back, needing Mama again. Then she looked around. No cars. No guests arriving. No confused relatives milling about. No one weeping on their phone. No one at all. The smile faded. She pulled out her phone and called me. It rang 5 times and went to voicemail. She called Rachel. Voicemail. She called Gloria Cole. Voicemail. She scrolled through her contacts and called Nathan's cousin Danny. Voicemail. Mrs. Henderson. Voicemail. Jenny from my school. Voicemail. 7 calls. Not a single answer. She stood in the middle of that empty lot. Phone pressed to her ear, turning in a slow circle. The sun was hot. The cicadas were loud. And she was completely, utterly alone. I try to imagine what that moment felt like for her. The exact second she understood. The second the smile dropped and the realization landed like a stone in still water. She came to watch me break. Instead, she stood in an empty field, calling number after number, and no one answered. Someone answered eventually. A distant cousin of Nathan's, Bev, 74, hard of hearing. Probably didn't understand the "Don't Tell Diane" memo. She picked up on the sixth ring. "Oh, Diane. Didn't you get the message? Weddings at Elmwood Garden now. Pretty place out on Whitfield Lane." My mother hung up without saying goodbye. 25 minutes later, she must have broken every speed limit in Ridge Hill. Her silver sedan crunched up the gravel lane at Elmwood Garden Estate. She saw the white gate, the fairy lights through the trees. She heard the music, the laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the smoky sweetness of barbecue drifting through the Georgia air. And she parked. She walked to the gate. Her heels sank slightly into the gravel. A man was standing at the entrance. Kyle, Rachel's friend, 6'2", calm-faced, holding a clipboard. He'd been briefed. "Good afternoon, ma'am. May I see your invitation?" My mother straightened. "I'm the mother of the bride." Kyle looked down at his list. He scanned it carefully, top to bottom. He looked up. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Your name isn't on the guest list." My mother stared at him. Her mouth opened then closed. "There must be a mistake." "No mistake, ma'am. I've checked twice." Through the gate, she could see the chairs, the wildflowers, the mason jars, the guests laughing. She could see the back of my dress. She could see Nathan's arm around my waist. Everything she tried to destroy was right there, alive and whole and glowing. And there was a gate between her and it, and a man with a clipboard, and her name nowhere on the list. "I understand this is difficult," Kyle said gently. "But I can only allow listed guests." For the first time in her life, my mother was on the outside of a door she couldn't open, and the key was not in her hands. She doesn't leave quietly. I pieced this together from Maggie Coulter's footage, which I watch only once, 2 weeks later, and never again. My mother's voice rises. First measured, then sharp, then raw. "This is my daughter's wedding. I am her mother." Kyle didn't move. He kept his hands clasped in front of him, his expression neutral. He'd been trained for this. Rachel thought of everything. "Ma'am, I understand, but I'm not authorized to." "Authorized? I gave birth to her." Several guests near the gate turned their heads. Nathan's Aunt Margaret whispered something to the person next to her. Mrs. Henderson shook her head slowly. My mother saw the faces looking at her. Not with sympathy. Not with confusion. With recognition. They knew what she did. Rachel's venue change message was clear. Due to unforeseen vendor cancellations by a family member, the wedding location has been moved. Everyone knew who that family member was. Then my mother saw the camera. Maggie Coulter and her cameraman had moved toward the gate. Not aggressively, just doing their job. The red light was on. My mother froze. The tears, the ones she could summon on command, stopped. She looked at the lens the way a deer looks at headlights. For one long moment. So she stood there, the mask cracking. Not the grieving mother. Not the protective parent. Just a woman in a navy dress who bet everything on control and lost. She turned around, walked to her car, opened the door, got in and drove away. She didn't look back. Inside the garden I was dancing. Nathan led me through a clumsy two-step on the grass while Caleb played guitar, and the fairy lights turned on as the sun dipped. I didn't know my mother came. I didn't know she left. Rachel stood near the dessert table, watching the gate. She saw the silver sedan disappear down the gravel road. She picked up her glass of sweet tea, took a sip, and walked back to the dance floor. No triumph. No gloating. Just peace. "She came," Rachel told me days later. "She left. You didn't miss anything." The rest of the evening was the kind of ordinary I'd been starving for. Paper plates loaded with pulled pork. Sweet tea refilled 3 times. Nathan's 7-year-old nephew, Thumb Brady, chasing fireflies across the lawn while his grandmother yelled at him to watch the flower beds. We cut the cake. 2 tiers, buttercream frosting, a small cluster of wildflowers on top. I made the topper myself. 2 tiny wooden figures Nathan carved last month. He thought I didn't notice the wood shavings on his workbench. Noticed. Gloria stood up to speak. She's not a woman who enjoys public attention. So when she cleared her throat and the garden went quiet, it meant something. "I'm not a speech person," she said. "But I want to say this. Welcome to the family, Vera. For real this time." Few people laughed. Few people cried. I did both. Uncle Tom went next. He held his glass steady, but his voice wavered. "My brother always said Vera would find her way." He paused, swallowed. He was right. The applause was gentle. Not a roar, just a warm, even sound like rain on a porch roof. So, I sat at the long wooden table, one Nathan built for a client last year but decided to keep. And I looked around. 200 people eating barbecue in a garden full of wildflowers under fairy lights in a small Georgia town. Nobody was performing. Nobody was managing appearances. Nobody was watching to see if I'd crack. For the first time in my life, a celebration wasn't being held hostage. Rachel caught my eye from across the table. She raised her mason jar. I raised mine. But we didn't say anything. We didn't need to. That was the first celebration of my life that wasn't stolen from me. Later that night, after the last guest was gone and the fairy lights were still blinking softly in the empty garden, Nathan and I sat on the porch steps at our house. My shoes were off. His tie was loose. The night air smelled like jasmine and leftover smoke. "There's something I need to show you," he said. He pulled out his phone and opened an audio file. Dated 6 days ago. 10:47 p.m. "I didn't play this for you before, because you were already breaking." He pressed play. My mother's voice filled the dark porch. "She had a breakdown in college. Did she tell you the full story?" I listened. "She can't handle stress. She'll fall apart." Kept listening. "Walk away now. Save yourself." The recording ended. The cicadas took over. I sat with it. My mother's voice. The one that sang me to sleep. The one that read me stories. The one that told me I was too fragile, too broken, too damaged for anyone to love, hanging in the warm night air. "I'm not damaged," I said. "I never was." Nathan didn't argue. He just waited. "I want to send this to Maggie Coulter." He looked at me. "Are you sure?" My mother put it on Facebook first. She told 800 people I was mentally ill. She told the whole town my marriage was a mistake. I folded my hands. "I'm not putting her on blast. I'm just letting people hear her real voice." "Okay." "And the vendor cancellations, the emails, the voicemails where she pretended to be me. Rachel has all of those." Nathan nodded. "This isn't revenge," I said, as much to myself as to him. "This is just the truth. Without her editing it." He put his arm around me. The porch light flickered. Somewhere down the road, a dog barked twice and stopped. "I'm not doing this to hurt her. I am doing this so she can never rewrite the story." The next morning, Sunday, I sat at the kitchen table with a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Not an email. Not a text. Letter. Handwritten. 'Cause some things should cost effort. I wrote 3 drafts before I got it right. The first was too angry. The second was too kind. The third was honest. "Mom, I love you. I need you to know that first because the rest of this letter will be hard to read. You canceled my wedding. You told my fiancé I was damaged goods. You told the town I was mentally ill. You told his mother I was unstable. You came to my workplace and implied I was having a breakdown in front of my colleagues. You posted on Facebook that I was marrying against medical advice. That was a lie. I don't hate you for any of this, but I can't pretend it didn't happen. Think you're afraid. I think you've been afraid since Dad died. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of losing control. And afraid that if I build my own life, there won't be room for you in it. There is room. There will always be room. But not like this. I need distance. I don't know for how long. When you're ready to talk, really talk, without guilt, without tears used as weapons, without trying to control the conversation, I'll be here. But the door opens from my side now. Not yours. I love you, Mom. But love without boundaries isn't love. It's captivity. Vera. I folded the letter. I put it in an envelope and I wrote Diane Westbrook on the front. I drove to Uncle Tom's house and handed it to him. He read it standing in his doorway. When he finished, he folded it carefully and looked at me. Your father would have written the same thing. He delivered it that afternoon. I don't ask how she reacted. I'm not ready to know. 1 week after the wedding, Maggie Coulter's segment aired on WRDG TV. The piece ran 4.5 minutes during the 6 o'clock news. The angle: Maid of Honor saves best friend's wedding after family sabotage. A Ridge Hill love story. Maggie kept it tasteful. She didn't name my mother directly. She said a family member cancelled all wedding vendors 1 week before the ceremony. She showed footage of the garden, the wildflowers, the fairy lights, Nathan and me dancing. She interviewed Rachel, who said simply, "When someone you love is in trouble, you don't wait for permission to help." She didn't need to name Diane. But in a town of 4,000, subtraction is identification. If the mother of the bride isn't in the wedding footage and a family member did the sabotage, everyone does the math. Within 3 days, I heard the ripples. Diane's post, the one about medical advice, got screenshot shared across half the town before she could delete it. By the time she did, it was too late. People were placing it side by side with Maggie's report. The Ridge Hill Women's Auxiliary, where Diane had held a board seat for 6 years, sent her a polite email. "We think it's best if you take a leave of absence while things settle down." At Patty's hair salon, Patty herself told Diane during her appointment, "Diane, I heard what happened. I think you should talk to someone. A professional." Neighbors stopped waving from their driveways. Invitations to Sunday potlucks stopped arriving. The phone calls tapered off. My mother's currency in Ridge Hill was always reputation. The devoted widow, the sacrificing mother, the woman who held it all together. That currency was now worthless. A woman on the town's Facebook group wrote what everyone was thinking. "I always thought Diane was a devoted mother." Turns out, devoted and controlling look the same from the outside. I hear about the next part from Uncle Tom, who checks on my mother because, despite everything, she's still his late brother's wife. And Tom is the kind of man who doesn't abandon people, even when they've earned it. Diane called him on a Wednesday night, 2 weeks after the wedding. She was crying. "They turned my daughter against me." Tom doesn't sugarcoat it. "Nobody turned her, Diane. You pushed her. She's my child. I have a right. You have a right to love her. You don't have a right to own her." She hung up on him, called back 20 minutes later. Calmer, trying a different angle. "Rachel manipulated the whole thing. She poisoned Vera against me. Rachel saved a wedding you tried to destroy." Silence. Tom tells me she calls a few of her old friends from the Women's Auxiliary. She tells them she's been pushed out by her daughter and her daughter's controlling best friend. The narrative is familiar. Diane, the victim. Diane, the misunderstood martyr. But this time nobody buys it. Everyone saw the Facebook post. Everyone watched Maggie's report. "She needs help," Tom told me. "Real help, not sympathy." Tom drove by Diane's house one evening and saw the lights on in the kitchen. Through the window, she was sitting alone at the table, looking at an old photo album. Her wedding album. Her and my father, young, smiling, unbroken. He tells me this carefully, like he's not sure I want to hear it. "Listen. I hope she gets help," I say. Mean it. Not because I've forgiven her, but because I know what it looks like when someone is drowning and too proud to call for a life vest. I tell Tom if she agrees to see a therapist, I'll go to 1 session of family counseling with her. That's my offer. It's not forgiveness. It's a condition. And it's the most generous thing I can give right now. The money sorts itself out mostly. Nathan and I contact the original vendors, the ones my mother cancelled by impersonating me. We bring the receipts. The emails where Diane signed as Vera Westbrook, the voicemails where she used my name. The florist and the caterer both review the evidence and agree. We didn't authorize the cancellation. Dawn at Magnolia Florals refunds $2,200. The caterer returns $4,800. That's $7,000 back. Not everything, but enough to breathe. The venue, Ridge Hill Community Pavilion, has a stricter policy: no refund past 30 days. But the manager, after hearing the story and seeing the voicemails, offers a credit toward a future event. "We'll use it for a first anniversary party," Nathan says. I laugh for the first time in a while. We pay Rachel back the $6,500 within 2 months. To resist. "Consider it a wedding gift," she says. I wire it anyway. Some debts aren't about money. Or about respect. Something unexpected comes from the wedding itself. 3 guests who saw the hand-built chairs and tables Nathan made for the reception reach out to him the following week. Custom furniture orders. A dining set for the Hendersons, a rocking chair for old Mrs. Freeman, a bookshelf for Maggie Coulter's producer. Nathan's workshop, which had been struggling for steady clients, suddenly has a 3-month waitlist. I don't file charges against my mother. I don't sue for damages. I considered it briefly. But I'm a 28-year-old teacher in a small town, and she's my mother. The legal system isn't built for this kind of wound. But I keep everything. Every voicemail, every email, every screenshot filed neatly in a folder Rachel labeled, "Just in case." We didn't get rich. We didn't get even. We just got free. 3 months later. Our house is small. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a porch that needs repainting. Nathan says he'll get to it in spring. And I believe him because the man finishes everything he starts. Go back to teaching. The 3rd graders don't know anything about what happened, and that's exactly how I want it. They care about multiplication tables and who gets to feed the class hamster. It's the most grounding thing in my life. Mrs. Daniels, the teacher who whispered, "Don't let her win," in the hallway that day, starts leaving a cupcake on my desk every Friday. She never mentions why. I never ask. Gloria Cole and I have dinner together every other Sunday. She's teaching me to make peach cobbler, the Cole family recipe. Handwritten on an index card so old the ink is fading. Last Sunday she handed me the original card. "It's yours now," she said. Family recipe goes to family. I taped it inside our kitchen cabinet next to a photo of Nathan and me at Elmwood. I haven't spoken to my mother directly. Uncle Tom is the bridge. He tells me she started seeing a therapist, went twice, quit. Went back, quit again. Then went back a 3rd time. "She's trying," Tom says on the phone one evening. "Slowly." "Slowly is fine," I tell him. "I'm not going anywhere." Mean it. The door I described in my letter, the one that opens from my side, is still there. I check on it sometimes in my mind. The way you check on a plant you're not sure will survive the winter. I don't need my mother to be perfect. I just need her to stop pretending I'm broken. That's the minimum. And for the first time, I'm not afraid to hold it. I want to say something to you directly, not as a character in a story. It's me, Vera. I didn't tell you all of this so you'd hate my mother. She's a woman in pain. She lost her husband too young and she never learned the difference between holding on and holding hostage. Her fear is real. Her grief is real. But her pain doesn't give her the right to destroy my life. And yours doesn't either, whoever yours is. But if you have someone in your life, a mother, a father, a sibling, a partner, who uses love like a leash, who makes you feel guilty for being whole, who punishes you for growing, I want you to hear me. You are not ungrateful for wanting air. You are not selfish for saying no. You are not a bad daughter or a bad son for building a life that doesn't orbit their anxiety. Boundaries are not walls. They're doors. And you get to hold the key. I didn't plan a revenge. I didn't scheme. I was lucky. I had Rachel. I had Nathan. I had Uncle Tom and Gloria and Mrs. Daniels and 200 people who showed up at a backup garden on a Saturday in Georgia because someone sent them a text that said, "Trust me. If you don't have a Rachel, if there's no one in your corner right now, then be your own Rachel. Make a plan. Not a plan for revenge. Plan for your future. A plan that protects the version of yourself your mother or father or whoever is trying to erase. You deserve to exist without permission. I know because I spent 28 years waiting for permission. And the day I stopped asking was the day my life actually began. I've asked myself so many times since then, if Rachel hadn't made that backup plan, what would have happened? Would I have been strong enough to stand on my own? Honestly, I'm not sure. So, I want to ask you, do you have a Rachel in your life? Someone who protects you before you even know you need protecting? Or are you someone's Rachel? The one holding the backup plan together while they fall apart? Tell me in the comments. I'd really love to hear your story. Now let me tell you how this ends. 6 months after the wedding, I came home from school on a Tuesday afternoon. There was a piece of mail on the porch. Not in the mailbox. On the porch, hand-delivered. A cream-colored envelope with no return address. My name written in handwriting I'd recognize in the dark. I opened it standing in the doorway. No letter inside. No words. Just a single pressed wildflower. A black-eyed Susan, flattened and dried between 2 sheets of wax paper. I held it for a long time. A wildflower. The flower I chose for my wedding. The flower my mother replaced with white roses. The flower Rachel brought back. I don't know if it's an apology. I don't know if it's a goodbye. I don't know if she pressed it from her own garden or bought it somewhere or picked it from the roadside ditch. Out on Route 12 where black-eyed Susans grow wild every summer. I don't call her. I'm not ready. Maybe she's not ready either. I carry the flower inside and place it on the bookshelf, leaning against our wedding photo. Nathan and me under the live oaks, fairy lights in the background, wildflowers everywhere. My mother didn't say anything. And maybe that's the kindest thing she's done in years. Nathan comes in from the workshop, sawdust on his forearms. He sees me standing at the bookshelf. You okay? Yeah. Turn around. I'm good. Through the kitchen window, the late afternoon sun pours across the backyard. I can hear the rhythm of Nathan's table saw starting up again. The neighbor's dog barking. A mockingbird somewhere in the pecan tree. My name is Vera Westbrook Cole. I'm 29 now, and for the first time my life is mine. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. If this story touched something in you, please hit like and subscribe. Not because I ask, but because you want to hear more stories like this one. Down in the description, I've linked another story I think you'll connect with about a woman whose in-laws shut her out for 5 years until one Thanksgiving dinner changed everything. It's a good one. And wherever you are right now, whatever your version of Ridge Hill looks like, I hope you find your Elmwood garden. See you in the next one.